For the last 2 weeks, students at Howard University, they have been living in what we can describe as tent city outside of the university's Blackburn Center, demanding changes to the housing conditions at the university. They have made a series of allegations, been posting on social media what they call deplorable living conditions, rat-infested, rodent-infested conditions, clothes being wet, you name it. They've had a number of students who have been living outside of the Blackburn Center for the last 2 weeks, demanding attention from the university. They say their requests first of all, their requests are not being heeded, even though they say they're paying tuition. And last week was the university's homecoming. However, festivities were overshadowed by these protests. Now, several organizations and notable figures are speaking out against the conditions, including rapper Gucci Mane, who was slated to perform at the Mecca's Yard Fest. Now, the artist pulled out of the concert and decided to stand in solidarity with the students on campus. Now, we went to Howard University today and met with Dr. Toshni. First of all, we met with several different people at Howard University. First and foremost, meeting with the university. I was talking with them last week, and we wanted to be able to come on campus. So Dr. Toshni DeBroy, who was the COO of Howard University, talked with me as we walked through one of the dormitories, the all-female dormitory on the campus of Howard University. This is what she had to say about the protest and about what's happening on campus. Dr. Toshni, so we've had for nearly 2 weeks now, numerous students laying out a litany of complaints. So let's deal with a baseline. First of all, how many dormitories are we talking about across campus?
We have over 2,700 rooms, and we have about 5,500 students that are in our residence halls.
So what analysis have you done? Has been an inspection of every single dorm room on campus, and the issues that are being raised, mold, flooding, rats, roaches. So what has been that analysis of the inspections?
So every single residence hall has been inspected, not only by DCRA, but also by our folks on campus.
What is DCRA?
So that's the district's team that does inspections.
Okay.
Of our residence halls, etc.
All right.
So whenever we have an incident, they conduct a spot check on us, and we have to send a report, especially since our students' concerns have been so well published and publicized. DCRA has been on our campus to do those inspections as well. In particular at the towers, because that's where the flooding occurred, and I can show you where that's the site of the incident occurred.
Okay, so this dormitory that we're in.
This is the quad. This is our primary residence hall for young women on our
And how many students are in here?
About 1,000, because the quad has about 5 buildings that are part of it.
Gotcha.
And it's called the Harriet Tubman Quadrangle officially.
And so, young lady you were just talking to, who laid out a litany of complaints, saying that they've been complaining since August about the issue. What is the process if a student has an issue with a shower or a room or a mold or anything like that?
So when a student has a complaint, because all of our campus housing is outsourced, they actually send it through the campus housing provider's maintenance work order system. In this particular case, Corvius manages our residence halls like the Quad, Towers, Drew, etc. And a student would input a maintenance work order, and then there are stated times for which within which a work order is completed.
Okay, so when she laid out, say they've been trying to do this stuff since August, and that was being unresponsive, how are you able to track that? How are you able to verify that?
So we can look in the system to see when the ticket was submitted. There are times when our students don't submit a ticket, but they'll tell an RA instead, and the response time may vary. But there is truth to times when we have seen that a maintenance work order has not been tended to in the stated times. And so it's us holding Corvus accountable to ensure that they do what they commit to doing when a student has a complaint.
Okay, and so we're headed now to where?
So I want to take you through the quad just so that you can see some of the spaces that we're speaking.
Okay.
Actually, you want to go up the stairs or you want to take care? Let's head upstairs. Well, it doesn't matter, so we can do this too. I didn't want you to have to wait. But this is a recently renovated residence hall. Within the last 3 years, we renovated it. And you know, over the pandemic, it sat for a little while without any students, so for about 18 months. And then we had to ensure that it was habitable, that people could come back in. And it was done by Corvus on the first floor, please.
So prior to students coming back, they were supposed to get the building ready for all students.
That's correct. So they have to do wipe downs. They have to do summer readiness is what we call it. And it's the usual maintenance that is required so that the dorms can be populated.
Okay.
So you're going to find on our campus right now that we're being hypersensitive to our students' needs.
Right.
So every single day, there are tons of crews coming through to make sure that our residence halls are cleaned.
Now, were those crews down? Was that a regular occurrence prior to their complaints and their protests?
There is usual maintenance prior to the protest, but now it's when I say we've ramped it up, we have ramped it up, because we want to ensure that whatever needs our students have, that they're being tended to. As a matter of fact, we went above and beyond Corvus to start ensuring that there are more contractors in here coming to look to see if there's a need, and wherever there's a need, it's being met.
Now, are you also having them to answer some questions in terms of their responsibility?
Most certainly.
Because if that is a issue,
yes,
if they're not doing their job, so what conversations are being had there?
There is for legal reasons. I'm not going to say everything that's happening, right? But we are having very strict conversations with them to discuss, you know, or the complaints that our students are bringing to the fore. So these crews, for example, these are part of the heightened response that we've had to make sure that the dorms, not only are they experiencing microbial wipe downs at this time with regards to the complaints that we've heard about mold, but also just general cleaning in all of our residence hall spaces. And filter changes and HVAC deep cleaning as well.
Got it.
So this is a typical residence hall. As I mentioned, it's populated by our women, and so we just have to ensure that every single time that a student raises a complaint, that it's being tended to in real time, and that there are no extended maintenance responses.
Okay. And so in terms of the continuation of complaints from the students, what is happening with those right now in terms of how they're being processed, how they're being dealt with?
Yes, so there are students who are protesting right now, some of whom don't live in the dorms. So they may not be able to see that we're actively doing something to be responsive to their needs. We've made the announcements, and the crews are here. The evidence is in the volume of people that you're seeing on our campus right now, and it is in direct response to our students' concerns.
One of the big complaints, young lady downstairs was talking about mold. Of the dormitories that you inspected, how many of them had a mold issue? How many had a significant or substantial mold issue?
34 rooms out of the 2,700 plus had a mold or moisture or fungal growth issue. And of the ones that we inspected, 5 of them had a severe issue. That represents less than 2% of the rooms that we offer on the campus. And so when we speak about a building-wide issue, we're not seeing that. Do we see where there is mold perhaps at refrigerator curbs and on microwave systems? Yes. And that is the microbial wipe down and the mold remediation that is being done.
So what she was talking about was also in the air vents, things along those lines. Have those also been inspected?
So the reality is we don't have common air ducts throughout our residence halls. So that's why when people are saying there's a building-wide issue, we can be confident in the fact that, when we're looking at the air quality samples, we're just not seeing that. And each each room is not connected to the next from a venting system. So each room actually has its own HVAC equipment, but there are no common ducts going through each room.
What about the when they said there was flooding? What was where was that, and what was the issue there?
It was in the towers, but I'll tell you what happens. In a residence hall, each year we bring in quite a bit of young people. They're now acclimating to doing laundry on their own. They're acclimating to sprinkler systems that are often not in people's homes. You generally don't see that. And they're also having to acclimating to living on their own. And in this case where you saw the flooding, one student placed a hair accessory on a hanger and then placed the hanger on the sprinkler system. Now, these are systems that have very sensitive mechanisms to activate a sprinkler. And that's what happened. The glass broke on the sprinkler and it activated it, and in no time, one part of the towers was flooded and it went down to multiple floors. So I can show you that as well. The common response is, that's called an emergency. That's an emergency response. You're going to have people coming out to, number one, turn off the sprinkler system, look to see if there's a fire, and do the due diligence to ensure that life safety systems are in place, everybody's safe and healthy. And then the next phase of it involves a dry out, and that was completed already. And now we'll do the putback or the restoration. And that is yet to be done because the students were all removed permanently from their rooms and relocated to another space within the residence.
And how many students would that entail?
That affected 19 students, not as severely for everybody, but anybody who wanted to be relocated was relocated.
So for students that are being economically impacted, what resources are being provided to them? Again, we've heard numerous allegations. What is happening there?
So there's a huge insurance claim at play. It's about a $600,000 insurance claim that Corbis is managing at this time. And as part of their system, if there are students that are severely impacted, they usually document what parts of their belongings can no longer be salvaged, and then they are financially compensated. And that's well documented. It wouldn't be the first time that we've had an issue of this kind, and a student has to be financially assisted to do replacement of his or her belongings. There are times when students will have wet clothing, right? And it's a fight with the insurance company to get a reimbursement for wet clothes. If you have wet clothes, the common response that the insurance company usually asks us to do is ensure that it can be washed and dried, and that there's not a problem there. If there are any incidents of mold, remediation can be done on one's clothing as well. But generally, if a student needs to be reimbursed, they can be and will be. And it has been done. So there are our students who are reimbursed are not necessarily going to come on camera and tweet about it, but we have the documentation, and they actually sign for it, and that's done through Corbis as well. And tomorrow, I know that they're doing another set of disbursements as well.
Okay, all right. So how are you from a communication standpoint? How are you now? What are you communicating to the parent? What are you communicating to the student body? Because again, one of the complaints is that university administrations went silent. Should have been more out front. So what is happening on that front? Because there's a lot of stuff you said on social media, other media reports. How are you dealing with that? Communicating to students and parents.
Well, we have been communicating with our students, and one part of that communication not only is through our main communication system, our HUCOM, but also we've been on the ground. I've been here on a nightly basis along with other VPs doing what's called hypercare. We're trying to speak to students personally to find out if there are any needs that have gone unmet. Some students express their ire because they feel as if the residence hall provider has been unresponsive. And so that's why we're doing this hypercare, to ensure that they see us, they can talk to us, they can lodge complaints with us, and then we ensure that it gets fixed.
What about the complaint, I guess, of students that university police pulled a baton out on the students. That was one of the, I know that there's a news conference they're holding as well. Talk about their treatment by university personnel.
So if the one that I saw in particular was that a police officer had choked a young lady. I have not seen anyone who has been able to say, you know, Dr. DeBoer, here's the footage of what we have. The cameras are rolling all the time on social media, but I'm not seeing that. And if somebody can show me where a campus police officer did that, I would be 100% committed to removing that officer from our force. And that's the real reality.
So folks have said this happened, but you haven't seen.
Nobody can show us anything that shows us that a police officer actually did that. I heard it, and the cameras have been rolling continuously, but that footage is missing.
Okay. Robert Tramble is the VP for Communications for Howard University. He did address the issue of the officer pulling his baton out. And it reports that it was a student. This is what he had to say. All right, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
To clarify, the baton incident was actually not with a Howard student. It was, Chief Lyles confirmed that.
You want me to say that on camera too?
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Sure.
We're still rolling.
That particular incident, there are non-members of Howard community who are participating in this sit-in, and that was an adult that engaged with one of our officers who responded with the importance of their policy. So that was not an actual student. The baton incident was not a student. It was actually an adult who was pushing one of our officers.
So an adult pushed one of the officers, and that's when the officer responded by pulling his baton out?
Correct. It was not a student.
Got it. Okay. Howard University students held a news conference on campus after we talked with university administrators. Here's some of that news conference.
While they actively sit on my back on our own campus, they have put an enormous burden on the students who only want them to be honest, responsible, and accountable. We just want to breathe. And right now, I can't breathe at Howard University. Stop threatening us. Protect us. Do your job. And respect us. Because we are not the enemy.
This is the latest edition of the Hilltop newspaper. On the back of this newspaper, there's a section called Speak Out. I wasn't planning on reading off of this, but I feel that it's appropriate. There's a section that says, what is the best and worst thing about Howard? And some of the great things the students said, the connections, the friendships, the partnerships with faculty and alumni, those were all wonderful things to hear about. But when you start hearing about the negative things, the things that we wish the administration would listen to us about, it's all the same things. And the students that are listed here are not even the students that are inside protesting or outside protesting. They're just students that are speaking their piece and their experience. The worst part is the lack of communication between the students and the administration. The worst part is the lack of communication between the administration and the students. On the other hand, our grievances with the university as students continue to be ignored, and it has been frustrating to witness. Number 4, the worst thing is that students have to deal with respiratory issues due to the mold in the dorm that they are paying for. Number 5, the worst part about Howard is how administration handles student affairs and continuously disregards critique from the student body. Number 6, the worst is the inability for people in positions of power at Howard to hold themselves accountable for the mistakes they've made and continue to make. This is why we have to protest now. Worst is the resources, the facilities. We should have more, newer buildings and resources based on our contributions to the university alone. Why is there mold and barely running water in the chemistry building? Why does the fine arts building flood every winter? The worst thing about Howard this year is that the administration has no care for the sense of community and and is completely and totally incompetent and negligent in their duties. President Wayne Frederick, Dr. Evers, the Board of Trustees, all of them do not deserve the jobs that they have. Their duty is to the students, and they are failing in their duty. Listen to your students.
It hasn't been a great experience since I've been here. It honestly really hurts because I pay $50,000 like the rest of you. My parents worked very hard to keep me at this school. My mom is an alumni. Howard is a family school. My uncle and aunt went here, and they were dealing with the same issues. They're class of 2000, they're class of 90, they're class of 91, and they're still dealing with the same issues. Why are we still fighting for issues that have been going on since 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago? There have been protests since 1968 about this. Homeless at Howard is a running joke between the student body. Upperclassmen are consistently homeless. They're upperclassmen living in their cars and having to wash up at Bird Gymnasium. And they're paying $50,000 to live in their cars. Howard doesn't have adequate off-campus housing. Howard doesn't have adequate on-campus housing. There are 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds, me, I'm a 19-year-old. Living in these buildings, living in these dorms, they're doing these to kids. Yeah, Evers, we will only be speaking to President Frederick and the board. Again, who have not been here. We have been out here for 2 weeks. There is no reason in the world I am 19 fighting for a right to have safe and adequate housing, for a right to have clean classrooms. There's no way I'm fighting for this. Also, our second demand, students were removed off of the Board of Trustees this summer. Student, alumni, and faculty positions were all removed. Where is our voice supposed to be heard? And our first demand in a town hall that President Frederick has actively worked against. Like some of my peers have said, how are you a president of a university and can't speak to your own students? That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense at all. At all. The last statement that the administration put out was October 14th. What day is it? What day is it? The 25th? The 25th, and that's the last time they said something to us. That's crazy. This was my dream school. This was my dream school from 6 years old. I love Howard. I love the people at Howard. I love the friendships I've made at Howard. I love Howard University. But just because I love Howard University does not mean I cannot hold my school accountable. It does not mean I cannot hold my HBCU accountable, because I'm fighting for past generations, I'm fighting for current bison, and I'm also fighting for future bison. I'm fighting for 1826, 1827, 1828. I want my kids to be able to go here, but not right now. Not the way this university is set up, not the way this administration is set up, not the way this board is set up. There will not be a third generation from my family coming to Howard University until these issues are fixed. And this needs to be the last protest happening. The last one, because this shit's been going on since 1968, and then there was another one in 89, there was another one in 2018, now here we are in 2021, still fighting for these same issues. That's crazy to me. That's crazy. $50,000 to be fighting for adequate housing, to fight for my voice to be heard. Howard loves to say they're going to be creating leaders, they're creating new MLKs, new Malcolm X's. What am I doing? I'm protesting, I'm fighting for my bison, one bison, all bison. One bison, all bison. One bison, all and I'm fighting, and I'm a leader. I'm a leader. And you're actively dismissing me? You're saying I'm lying? You're calling me a liar? That's crazy. That's crazy.
We then visited with the students who are in Blackburn Center, and we actually went inside of the facility. Now, they had a rule that no media was allowed to shoot any video on the inside, but then they said, we're different.
Appreciate it.
The electrical, basically the electricity of the building is not finished and it's been considered uninhabitable. So some of the things have not been approved. Several existing panels that new work ties into are missing safety panels and are unlocked. Emergency exit lighting do not properly illuminate stairs from second floor lobby to first floor lobby. Basically, it's going over the details of how it's inhabitable.
So why did y'all decide, so how did this whole thing start? Why did y'all decide to take over? How did this whole thing start?
It started with a town hall hosted by HUSA, which is our student association, that all of administration was invited to, and they did not show up. They gave excuses such as they were out of town, or they had scheduling conflicts or other meetings, which the whole point of the town hall was for us to be talking with administration about our issues with administration.
So you had the town hall, they didn't show up, then what happened?
I believe it was Anaya and Erica decided that they were fed up, and Anaya stepped outside to make some phone calls, and then she came back in and she announced that we were not going to be leaving the building.
Okay, and that was when?
October 12th.
Gotcha. So since then, you've been, so how many students are inside, how many outside?
The numbers really fluctuate through the day. Yeah, dozens and tens.
Roughly a total of 150 students in all.
And so you have folks who are, when you say not leaving the building, folks are living in here, studying in here, eating in here, all sort of stuff like that?
I've been here since day 2. I haven't left since.
I've been here since the town hall. I have my own little air mattress.
Okay, all right, let's take a look at what you got. So the building hasn't been in use because
Multiple
The
problems.
building actually has been used, but it's not finished.
We can only use about 2 floors of the building because this floor and the basement, which is supposed to hold our bowling alley and the lounge for the school newspaper, the Hilltop, is under construction and unusable.
Okay.
And this is the top floor with the bathroom with no running water. That in there was supposed to be our ballroom. Out here is supposed to be a balcony that also only has 1 row of tiling, which we'll see over here. And then when you step out there, you can also see what you're stepping on. Also,
gotta move up, you gotta move up.
Table. So it's a little scary. You can see we have 1 row of tiling done.
That's it.
That's all that
Maybe
floor.
2 if you want to count those as 2.
Yeah.
All right.
That's it for right here.
All right.
There's literally nothing else.
Where are we headed next?
So main floor.
Then there's the second floor.
Hold on 1 second. Andrew, come on, up front. Come on, move up front. Go down. No, go down the steps. Go down the steps, and then you so just go down to the second floor. I'll wait till you get down there.
Coming down from the top floor to the second. Instead of railing, we have a caution tape, which is somewhat successful in a way. If you quote, as you can see over here, we also have railing that was put up, but it's still falling. This is our main floor. Again, if you want to mask up. This is our main floor, our hospitality area, our food area. As you can see, some people sleep here, unfortunately.
So you're saying you started this here, this building was in use, even though most of this, half of it had not even, was still under construction?
Building our second day and tried to say that it was our fault that the building was shut down, even though we were originally only occupying that first floor that you just saw. So we had nothing to do with them shutting down the cafeteria.
This is another restroom on a mainly used floor with no working water and barely has a ceiling.
There's a Socratic seminar room back here, which we sometimes use for meetings, but none of us had any clue it was back here because this floor wasn't open until like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. The first time I saw this floor was the day before the protest happened. The first time. This is the auditorium over here. This is where most of the meetings are held with the Blackburn Takeover family. We discussed like logistics, strategy. Also didn't know this existed till the day before the protest started. Some people also sleep in this hallway. They also sleep down here. They also sleep in the auditorium. They sleep in the synchronic seminar room.
Pretty much anywhere you can fit an air mattress.
We sleep everywhere. Maybe in the outlet.
Next to an outlet, we have one of our microwaves over here.
Because we gotta eat. Because they don't want us to eat to us. So we can't really eat.
Yes, this is another.
This is another raggedy room with a.
I believe this is supposed to be a classroom at some point.
Account, a little ATM over there, some kind of ceilings.
Yay!
So what, so here's the question. What exactly do you want from the university? What do you want them to do?
We want them not only to speak to us first, because in order to speak about our demands, they need to contact us. We've reached out multiple times and they refused to do so.
So y'all haven't had a sit down with university leadership?
No, they refused to do so.
They have sent a spokesperson, the Vice President of Student Affairs, Dr. Cynthia Evers, and all that she does when she comes in here is threaten us with expulsion and attempt to intimidate us by bringing more police who further escalate a peaceful protest.
And so, if you do meet with them, what do you want? What do you want to actually? What are your demands? What do you exactly want from the university?
Well, they're listed outside of the door, but demand number 1 is to have a town hall with President Frederick so students can air their grievances out. Demand number 2 is to have student affiliate trustee positions reinstated back onto the board permanently. We were removed this summer along with faculty and alumni seats.
Was an explanation provided by the board as to why those positions were removed?
No, the very basic explanation they gave in the press release when they announced that our seats were being removed was to make the board a more fiduciary board and specifically for money. And I don't understand why students couldn't be on that board because I do pay tuition here. I pay $50,000 along with the rest of my peers. There are at least $2 million of tuition dollars in this room right now in this building.
And we don't know where that goes.
And we don't know where it goes. This institution has a major issue with financial transparency. A lot of our buildings are run down, our dorms are run down. Howard loves to claim that the dorms were renovated. They weren't. Or they were renovated poorly by Corvias, the housing management company right now. Demand number 3 is to have a comprehensive housing plan actually given to us by the university and by administration to have a plan to fix the mold issues, to have a plan to fix the water damage that's going on right now.
Now, in talking to COO, for the 2,700 dorms on campus, 34 had mold issue, 5 were serious. When I asked about the flooding issue, I was told that was a result of a student hanging something from a sprinkler. And so when you talk about the mold issue, what have you done in terms of, have you pulled together numbers from other students, then documenting, and so from your perspective, how extensive is the mold issue?
I can tell you from the testimony of 2 RAs that they have more than 34 rooms with the 2 floors they manage.
Just the 2 floors.
Just the 2 floors.
That's my RA.
Yes.
In my building alone, there are 11 floors.
Yes.
So in one building, on 2 floors with 2 RAs, there are more than 34 cases reported.
Yes.
They're
so-
trying to gaslight us.
So those particular RAs, have they come forward with documentation showing these are the actual rooms and with the mold issue and how extensive it is?
Yes. My RA just sent all of that evidence in our floor group chat this morning. I just looked through all of it. It's absolutely disgusting, actually.
So yes, we do actively and are still collecting that evidence. There is a lot because a lot of students live with the mold, the water damage, the rodents, the mushrooms, just things that should not be in a dorm. They actively try and gaslight us with false numbers to minimize their wrongdoings.
I do want to speak on the water damage as well. It's not just a sprinkler that fell and caused the flooding and that caused 7 floors to be and stricken with water damage. When it rains, water does come through the window. It leaks through my window. It causes water damage. The only mention I've heard of water damage from an authority figure has been my RA knocking on my door one time, 2 days into this, 2 days when I moved in, 2 days from when I moved in, asking if there was water damage. There's been no other kind of concern given by administration or any higher up. My building manager doesn't care, administration doesn't care, President Frederick clearly doesn't care as he's actively trying to gaslight us from it. I know they've tried to clean rooms and clean mold from rooms so they could do photo ops and so they could do press conferences in them to try to actively minimize this protest and actively minimize our efforts to have clean and safe living conditions.
And also, I'm one person and I know 4 people whose rooms were have water damage caused by just Howard, faulty pipes bursting downstairs, upstairs in the walls, causing them to leave. Their items being destroyed. They have to leave this place with nowhere to go without Howard's help. And me personally, I do live on the top floor in my dorm, so I have had water come through my ceiling. That's not a me thing, that's a Howard thing.
Give me 1 second, sorry guys.
Anything else?
Well, I think we're
So y'all plan on staying? So your deals until you meet with university officials, you're gonna stay?
correct. So those demands are met.
All right. Cool. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right. Y'all take care. Back to our Roland Mark Untitled video in just one moment.
Once upon a time, there lived a princess with really long hair who was waiting for a prince to come save her. But really, who has time for that?
Let's go. Feeling myself. I'm feeling
She ordered herself a ladder with Prime one-day delivery, and she was out of there.
I want some hood girls looking back at it and a good girl in my tax bracket.
Now, her hairdressing empire is killing it. And the prince? Well, who cares? Prime changes everything.
Time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Roland was amazing on there.
Stay black. I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared. You dig?